Your planet is dying, says a short orange man who fell out of the sky. Who even is this guy? What right does he have to tell us what we should buy, or that the trees have rights? They don't talk. I would like to introduce the sponsor of today's video, me. Anyway, please subscribe. They said, I know the CEO, by the way. Thank you. Please subscribe to me. Your planet is dying, says a short orange man who fell out of the sky. Who even is this guy? What right does he have to tell us what we should buy, or that trees should have rights? They don't talk, all they do is stand and sprout out of the ground. They don't even make sounds. Why can't I just chop them all down? I can even make money that way. That saves the day. So who cares if a few trees die? All that matters is that all of you should subscribe. Wow. Just subscribe. Today we will be talking about the Lorax, aka the cause of violence in young men. Whoa, why is it the cause of violence in young men, you might ask? Well, we'll get to that later. But before everything, I'd like to give all of you a brief overview. If you may have forgotten, or even if you do remember, I'll explain the entirety of the movie to you anyway. So, what is the Lorax? It's basically a show where Zac Efron lived in a place with no trees because a man who eerily resembles Levi Ackerman decided that he wanted to sell air because he saw a taller man's career fail. Now, Zac Efron wants to win the heart of Taylor Swift because who doesn't love Taylor Swift? But she, unlike Zac Efron, wants a tree because she thought they looked tall and furry and had funny little shapes. Now, a slightly different looking Troy Bolton is on his way to commit very serious crimes. He had to get the seed, obviously. So he hopped over a wall and almost died several times, and now he had to listen to a man who hasn't been eating, peeing, sleeping, nor breathing talk about the one and only Danny DeVito, who convinced him to kill all of the trees and was also very small and orange, and also had a mustache. And I know, if you watch the movie, you're like, no, Danny DeVito actually told him to not kill all the trees. But I don't know about you, but all the trees still died. So in conclusion, the Lorax is a very bad influence, and you should also subscribe to me. How is it a bad influence, you might ask? Well, let's talk about the people who map the show, the characters of the show, limp wristed. So we have our main character, Ted. He's a one-wheeler. You'll find out what that means later. Anyway, he's played by Zac Efron, obviously, and he risked his life for Taylor Swift, obviously, and he also has a motorcycle with only one wheel. Weird, I know. He also crashes planes into the backyards of innocent young women, and he also hates short people, has faulty water bottles, and loves old men. Did he even sing in the movie? I can't even remember. He sure is very irrelevant. Now let's talk about a much more relevant character, Audrey. She's a redhead and tall. She's voiced by the wonderful, wonderful Taylor Swift. She's a redhead, and she also loves trees because they look soft and smell funny. And you know what else looks soft and smells funny? She's a victim of plane crashes by the one and only man, Ted. She is also a cat person, just saying, and I thought she was going to die by the end of the movie. Next we have Aluminium Aloysius Alex O'Hare. Wow! He has a very funny name, and he also sells air in plastic bottles. He has bald bodyguards and has an unfortunate, aka very cool, trendy, and hip haircut, and also bears a short stature due to his upbringing, probably. He also loves blondes, probably. He also has very intense shoulder pads, or is just very square. He was also motivated by another man's career failing and ending and plummeting to the ground because he didn't listen to Danny Devito, aka an honorary blonde. Now, I think we all know who he reminds us of, Levi Ackerman. No! I know, you've heard that one before, but I can't lie when I say that the resemblance is there. I mean, look at them. But just in case, who is Levi Ackerman, if you don't know him already? He's a guy who didn't know his last name growing up. He loves blondes but hated them at first, and he also fights naked people with his weird eating habits. He's also from the hit show called Attack on Titan, which is actually very underrated, and you probably don't know it. Definitely. He is also very short and has a cool haircut, and is also a feminist, probably. And we all know that O'Hare, Alex O'Hare of all people, is just the biggest feminist ever. I mean, look at him. Next we have the Onceler. Wow, he's probably a furry. He also has a golden sense of fashion that reminds me of very bad things and salty old men. He also loves trees. Trust me, he just loves them. He also has a secret mustache, and he picked a fight with a small, orange, helpless old man who came down from the sky via self-inflicted wedgie. He also forcefully feeds marshmallows to bears, and he makes me wonder why he doesn't have a wife. Don't ask why. And he's also the creator of a weird-looking scarf that comes in only one color. It's a bad product, I know. But you know who else has a weird-looking scarf that comes in only one color? Mikasa Ackerman. No! Wow. Anyway, who is Mikasa Ackerman? Just in case you don't know. There's her face. She's from the same anime Levi Ackerman had been dragged out of, Attack on Titan. She also fights naked people with weird eating habits, and according to popular belief, she never washes her scarf ever, or should I say, she never washes her thneed. All that I can say is that the resemblance is uncanny. Next we have Lorax, Dwayne Johnson, but you know. Wow! He's the man, the myth, and the legend. He came out of the sky by giving himself a wedgie. He also causes thunder, and you know who else makes thunder? Thor. He is also blonde. Orange, but blonde. He also has a mustache, as we can see. He is also very small, and he is also voiced by Danny Devito. And you know who else is voiced by Danny Devito? Thor and Ed Sheeran. Why does he have... Here's Thor, but just in case you don't know, I'm gonna mansplain to you again. Who is Thor? Wow! He's a blonde guy with a questionable family and also has an odd relationship with his hammer. But we've all been there. He's from another very underrated movie franchise series thing. Marvel. You don't know Marvel. Who knows Marvel? He's blonde. So the Lorax is just Dwayne Johnson facing the consequences of his actions. Consequences? Yeah, you know what actions I'm talking about. So in conclusion, the Lorax is a bad influence. Bad man. Bad orange man. So how is the Lorax a bad influence, you might ask? Well, this time I will be explaining why the Lorax is a bad influence, and it's also the cause of violence in young men. Bad man. Number one, he did not save the trees. The whole point of the show was to save the trees, alright? And I'm talking about the Lorax here. And we all know that Mr. Jimmy Beast wouldn't be very happy with that. He stood there and let a tall man who eerily resembles a teenage girl with detachment issues chop down all the trees for a thneed. What even is that? And later starts blaming him for all his actions. That he, the Lorax, did warn him, the Onceler, about, and even tried helping him onto the right path. You get what I mean. But nonetheless, the Lorax is guilty of deforestation. Some supernatural tree protector, am I right? Number two, Ted's Zac Efron's motivation was Taylor Swift. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you know, the whole reason as to why the earth didn't die in the hands of a short man with ugly bangs was because he decided that he wanted to impress Taylor Swift. And trust me, I would too. But what if it was any other man, any other person? They wouldn't do that. So from this, we can conclude that Taylor Swift is the reason why we are all still breathing, not him. Number three, the amount of violence in this film is unbelievable. They put a fan on top of a short man's head and let him fly up into the sky and die. Not to mention the way they risked the life of an old lady who doesn't even have teeth anymore. As well as the fact that we're ignoring the amount of bullying the Onceler did to the poor old man, aka the Lorax. But the fact that this show is for children? The only thing I can conclude from this is the Lorax is the cause of violence in young men. Bad show. So how do we move on from this, you might ask? Because this show was all in our childhoods. At least it was in mine, okay? I remember watching it in school and thinking, oh, that guy's kind of. So here's the solution, aka the lessons we have learned are real. Wow. Number one, stan Taylor Swift. She was the reason the world was saved. Listen to her songs. She's great and not actually a redhead in real life. Yes. She's great. Number two, never trust men ever. We have proof that men are absolutely despicable. We have the Onceler, the Lorax, O'Hare, Thor, Levi Ackerman, Ted. All of them were bad, okay? Never trust men ever. Real. Number three, care about your environment. Not everything is about money, or is it? That is up to debate. But either way, the main and final lesson we have learned is that the Lorax deserves better, and is also the cause of violence in young men. Yes, all young men. So does he really deserve better? Does he really deserve better? Subscribe, please. Thank you.